good. You know, you look pretty.
Thank you.
Hello, Fred. I didn't bother, I didn't touch.
Wearing my jacket tonight. We all did.
It is 6:02. We'll start our meeting. We do have a quorum, have a full house. In fact, we've seen everybody. And usually at this time we do our pledge and invocation. So, Mr. Lacy, ask if you do our invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come today as humble as we know how. We ask that you bless each and every family that's represented here. Let us conduct the city business in a way that is pleasing to thy ears. These and all blessings we ask in the God and Son of Jesus' name. Amen.
Please face the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
First thing on our agenda tonight is a public hearing. An open public hearing to receive comments from residents of Cleveland with regard to a proposed amendment to the approved 2020-2021 fiscal year budget and amended project list. The nature of the amended proposed project is as follows. A, participation in proposed creation and funding of a new road from Farm Market Road 2025 US 59 by the proposed new north side school. So the meeting is now public meeting, open to hearing comments of the public. Do we have anybody? Anybody in the audience? No one? Everybody sign in? Zoom?
No Zoom or Facebook.
Okay. How long do we have to leave the public meeting open? Couple minutes?
Just enough to, get some comments. If you don't see any action, then you just move forward.
We'll give them just a minute. We're not gonna call in, want to be fair. If we have nobody that signed up for the public hearing, I'm gonna ask to close the public hearing. Item number 4, we ask for public comments. We do have one, Mr. Jim Carson. you would address the microphone. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just want to give you an update on what's going on with the chamber. A couple of things. Tomorrow evening from 5 to 7 at the log cabin, we have a networking after hours. Gives you an opportunity to meet the new members of the chamber and old members of the chamber and non-members of the chamber. Everyone's invited to that. It's 5 to 7. There will be hors d'oeuvres and refreshments. And then our lunch on this Thursday is Thirsty Thursday. That's at La Costa, yeah, La Costa. And that's from 5:30 to 7:30. Hors d'oeuvres are provided, and whatever, if you want to drink anything from water to anything else, that's on you. But that's just strictly networking, good opportunity to meet other business in the area. And we've been getting close to 20, 25 people there now for the past few months. It's the last Thursday of every month. And our luncheon is the following Thursday, and that's at it's going to be at Cornerstone Church again, due to the Civic Center still being closed. But we had on the schedule, the tech stop was going to be there, but they had conflicts, they couldn't make it. So the chamber gave away, through fundraising and everything, we gave away $6,000 in scholarships to Cleveland and Tarkington high school students, 3 $1,000 scholarships each, and they will be there talking about what they're doing in the future there. And June 5th is the Outdoor Expo Cleveland, and we're looking for a pretty big event. We've got the catch and release fish tank, the axe throwing for the kids, and the BB gun, and the archery range. And yes, we will have the rattlesnake picked back again. Thank you all.
No other public comments?
Yes or no, the public comments have been dismissed.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a summary of monthly business prospect report and EDC prospect report, EDC Director, Mr. Robert Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds?
Reports and comments.
Okay, we'll pick it up right after this. Okay. Give directions.
Good evening, Mr. President, EDC Board, and good seeing y'all again. On the EDC business status reports, being SF, we're still moving along with their project. Read an email from them this afternoon, which will come later, but that project's still moving forward. Quick Trip, I visited their project here the other day with Jeremy over there. They're still moving forward, other than being wet, and they having to do a lot of extra over excavation. Actually, that project is going to cost them about $1 million more than what they expected, but they're still moving forward, and everything's good. They're going to open in January, the plans are. And Burger Works still talking with William Taminga about his project and moving forward on that and building other buildings, because we have a couple local restaurants that's looking for other sites, and I've shared that information and gave that to him as well. He's talked to some of them. So anyway, any questions on those?
Yes, on the last one, Burger Works, they keep saying we're going to be moving forward on the second.
Yes,
phase
sir.
soon.
Yes, sir. He had,
Okay, we got a month starting on
they had not got a date where he started, but no, sir, he hadn't gave me a time factor, but he says soon. So,
that. Okay. Continue.
okay. Well, Mr. Penny said he thinks about September, so looks like but this year. So I know we need it, and I keep emphasizing that point because with the strip center that he's wanting to build in other locations, and he wants to complement the Whataburger with another kind of a restaurant, so. And I have some other people out of town also looking for a restaurant space, not just our locals that wanna move around, but we have other people from out of town as well.
Okay.
Prospects, Crisscross, Ryan Denard, again, he's a developer broker out of the Houston market. He's still looking, along with, Titus Investments. Those two kind of follow each other. And I've mentioned before at our last meetings, they built there in, New Caney around that new Walmart. All those projects belong to these guys. And they're really looking for a good site here in town, and they keep pushing, they haven't got one. So,
Is that the car wash in New Caney?
pardon?
Is it a car wash in New Caney?
They have a car wash behind the strip center, but where they have the front strip center and all that, that's their buildings as well. And they're building that big commercial car wash behind it, and they've just been. McKinley Group, I want to comment on that. David said, they've made an agreement with the golf course people. Somebody's going to run this one. So they are getting their plans for the clubhouse. But also, too, I want to comment about, I spoke with Patrick Poteet, the whole house, they have someone looking at that thing. He will not share who it is at this time, but he said it is a chain. He said, once they come to agreement and they do that, he said, we'll be happy. So, and we're going to meet again this week. So hopefully I gain some more information. Hamilton Realty, Larry Hammond. Hamilton, they've got some businesses that want to come here, but they need rail. And that's where we're having some big things, because we don't have the rail. But I have been visiting, talking to Mr. Baker a lot about their property. They did have agreement with the Virginia Group over what they were going to do. I think we all met with them before. That agreement has came to the end, so now he can start moving forward. And, but just like Mr. Hampton, they've got a business that needs 300 to 1,000 acres with rail. So, JLA Realty, Kelly Seamer. This is the lady Nancy Moment, the investor out of Tacoma, Washington. She is wanting to move here and come apart here and will invest. And everything she has in Tacoma, she put up for sale. She's selling all her stuff, and so she can move to Cleveland. And so she'll start investing here. B Plastics. This is another company that they were looking at 20 acres, and they still are right now doing their due diligence on what we call Low Water Bridge Road. That's County Road 388. This is a commercial business that does plastic recycling. I asked them, why this piece that they're looking at. I tried to move them out toward the industrial park on our property, but this has existing buildings that they need. So, and we're going to meet, they're coming in town again this week, and we're going to spend some time together, because they may want to do some other properties, they said. So,
What size building are they needing?
well, those out there already have existing buildings. They're doing the tanks out there. These storage tanks, fuel tanks, and that building there is probably a 5,000. Then it's got another offset building that's probably got, I'm gonna think maybe 2,000 on that one.
Okay, I
So,
just
but-
didn't realize there's
Yeah,
any
yeah.
industrial or.
But it has an existing building. That's why they chose that site. So, and any questions?
Yeah, why don't you back up to JL Road, and you got a Kelly Smart,
Seamer?
and you mentioned another name. I'm confused.
Nancy Moment. Kelly represents her. She's from Tacoma, Washington. Miss Clay and myself met with her probably 5-6 weeks ago. Had lunch with this lady, and because and I asked her, how did she pick Cleveland from Tacoma, Washington? Did she just throw down the map, close her eyes, stick her finger, and she looked up and there was Cleveland? She said no, because she'd been looking online and a lot of movement in the Cleveland area, so that brought her here.
What is
So-
Nancy's last name?
Pardon?
What is Nancy's last name? Nancy,
I knew you would, Moment, M-O-M-E-T, Moment.
and my question is she gonna be part of JLA?
No, that JLA is a realtor,
I
and
understand,
she's gonna
but that's
help,
what's confusing.
she's gonna help represent Nancy on her projects and her, whatever she does. So she won't be, she's gonna represent her and help her find the projects she's gonna be buying, homes or whatever she buys here, invest in. She's gonna use her as her realtor.
Okay.
Anyone else? And next month, I'm gonna give a little more detail on this stuff, so. I've been just talking about it, but that way I don't have to talk about it so much. I can just let y'all read about it but I've been just, doing this, so. Anything else? Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ron. Now we're gonna go back to item number 5, reports and comments from director and staff. And I'm gonna start on the right-hand side. Patrick, you got any comments to make?
I have none at this time, Mr. President.
Michelle?
Have none at this time.
Just want to make a comment. This is, now my 4th meeting, and just want to thank everybody. Robert, I definitely appreciate the report you sent out on Friday. I work out of town, and I just want everyone to know if it's something that you need me to participate in. If you give me a day or 2 notice, I'll be here on time and I'll show up. That'll give me time to drive back in and plan, but, I appreciate all the support from everybody.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mason. Harold? Harold?
Yeah, thank you.
None? I'm all quiet tonight. Mr. Reynolds?
Oh, yes, sir, thank you. I would just like to say that, kind of piggybacking on Mr. Lake, I appreciate each and every one of the board, and Bobby, and everybody. We really have a lot going, on, and, I think we need to work closely as we can. It's gonna grow without us, but we really need to be a part of it, and we need to be unified in what we do. Each and every one of us are unique in our own way, and we're like tools in a toolbox. We all need to work together and do what we do, but I thank everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Pennington, city manager, you got anything like that?
I don't have anything at this time. I look forward to, we do have a lot of projects, and I look forward to making Cleveland a better place. And, we plan on doing that.
Well, I've been doing some house cleaning in my house, and I keep everything that I get from EDC and council, and it usually winds up kind of stacked, so I've been going through that, so I've got lots of stuff, but I think I'd rather bring it in as it pertains more to our agenda as we go into it. But I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. We got items 7, 8, 9, and 10. As a general rule, being consent agenda. If anybody has anything they want to discuss further and want to pull it out, now's the time to do so.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to pull, the minutes. I believe that's item number 7.
Yes, item number 7. Anything else? Just number 7?
Yes. Yes.
Anybody else have anything they want to pull out? If not, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda items number 8, 9, and 10. Who made the motion?
I'll make the
Michelle.
motion.
Okay, Mr. Lacy made the motion.
Michelle, second.
Okay, any other further discussion? If there are none, all those in favor, please right hand. Unanimous. Okay, now we'll pull out number 7 for discussion.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, it says here that we made a motion to table this item. Number 7, which was to approve, the approval of the sponsorship for the EDC City's 4th of July event. So,
Okay, which part of the minutes is that?
at the very bottom, I thought we all agreed, so, and it says motion carried. All members voted aye, but to say board members made a motion to table this item.
You're talking about item 7 only minutes? Okay. I think it was tabled because the amount of money was in discussion.
So that's what we're gonna be discussing later, just the amount. Is that clear? I just wanted to be clear.
I was under the impression that we were waiting to see who else, as far as community members that might, contribute to this.
So that's what I'm correct. I just wanted to.
Ms. Clay, I think last month, when we were talking about what the EDC would contribute, Mr. Gutierrez made a comment, maybe EDC would,
We have item 13 on our agenda to discuss that topic.
Okay,
yeah, so,
So would you feel okay then?
Yeah,
Bring it
yes.
to item 13.
and also, in item number 10, where it said discussion, we made the, discussion possible actions on participating by EDC on the proposed school road project between 2025 and the 59 meter. At the bottom it says that, and this is just the terminology, all members except board member Jenkins voted yea. Board member Jenkins abstained from voting. Well, it was a request.
I was asked to, yes.
So I just felt like we should maybe change the terminology of that. I mean,
How would you
it was
approach
like,
your meeting?
well, upon maybe discretion or request due to conflict of interest or something.
Although it's
That
not,
way,
it's just not a conflict of interest, but I just give it a considerable. But it is absolutely not a conflict of interest.
okay. So the word abstaining, I just took that as if she maybe refused to vote or so, but it was because she was asked not to. I just wanted to make that clear.
I think
If
it's
somebody
worded,
may ask.
I think
why
it's
did
worded
you vote?
correctly.
You understand? Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so too. She abstained from voting. The reason for that had to be explained.
And I think number 7 was stated correctly at the bottom where it says all members present voted A. That was according to the motion to table that particular item.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any further questions on the minutes? So
No, sir.
at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
For clarification, I make the motion that the minutes be approved for.
Clarification on which happened.
Mine, that make a motion that we approve.
A second. I hear a second.
I say,
We got a second. Are there any further discussions? All those in favor of accepting the minutes of last month's meeting, raise your right hand. Be carried unanimously. Sure.
Ms. Clay, are you asking to change, you had asked for your clarification, I'm asking if you're asking for anything to be changed in there.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, okay.
I just wanted to clarify that as far as the terminology of what I mentioned, is for the same World Cup benches, and that was clarified.
Any further discussion?
Thank you for asking that.
Okay. Moving on to item number 11. This is in discussion and action item. Presentation with discussion and possible action on Tough Kids program support request. It has been pointed out to me that that should be spelled T-U-F-F.
That's okay. Give myself a time because I am a talker. But I just want to start by, first of all, saying thank you all for giving us the opportunity to discuss our program and the exciting things that we actually have going on. Can I have a clicker and you'll click for me?
It's up to you. I can totally click for you.
What we do at Tough Kids literally is about providing constructive activities for the kids to do. And it started out with literally Ivan or Tuffy being approached with what can the kids do 10 years ago, 11 years ago now when the summer pool was out. And so he kind of knocked on my door and said, Isha, what are we going to do about these kids? And I was like, I don't know, finance, what are we going to do? So we all got together with former classmates and like, what can we do to help these children and Tough Kids with the help from that? So I kind of want to highlight some of the activities besides the physical sports, because you all know every week they learn how to play a different sport. So that changes, but every day they have academic and personal development classes. So if you see the little boy with it's actually spaghetti sticks and marshmallows, Tex Dot was there, and they was literally talking about engineering how they construct the freeways. And so that was one of the projects they had to build their own bridge. So it was really exciting because someone came, it was a mush. I said, well, can't nobody drive across that? But so that's exciting. We always have AgriLife come out and talk about health and nutrition and growing and eating healthy foods. The last picture, you actually can't see that well, but a couple of summers ago, well, actually before Chief Allen became the police chief of the school department, she's like, I want to help you all. So every summer since, she's literally been sending the officers out to play sports with them, bring snacks. And so there's actually one of the officers playing kickball, and he has his gun and everything on his around his waist. So the kids are always excited to kind of see them. But in Tough Kids, what I have learned is literally about exposure. Literally, how can we expose them to everything that's beyond their immediate scope? The top right field picture is actually, we tend to do it in smaller groups because it's more manageable. But I took some of the older kids over to Judge Morefield's courtroom to kind of explain how that just part of the judicial system works. We had the opportunity to take a few of the kids to a Rice basketball game. The other picture down here is Tuffy arranged for us to go to UT. Well, we actually went to the state capitol first. Then after we left the state capitol, we went to the UT stadium. They got to go in the locker room and, just to see their favorite players' jerseys hanging up there. I mean, it was just so excited. My mom has a picture with her playing pool on there, this giant pool table they have that she loves. And then Mr. Clay, every summer he invites us out to the municipal airport. And that's important because you have very few women and minorities in aeronautics. So literally one of the things he does is literally walks them through everything from the hangars being built, explaining the parts of the airplane. And then he gets different pilots to come out. They put us on those planes. They take us down over the tour to Lake Livingston, bring them back. But the first time I was like, hey, let me, start posting these pictures. Honey, by the time we landed, those pictures were on Twitter. Every parent knew what was happening. They were calling. My phone was blowing up. So it's just one of the exciting things that we look forward to every summer. And then the last picture of the Christmas tree. I know some of you probably say, why does this girl have such a high light bill over there? But a few years ago, I asked some of the kids, well, what are you doing for Christmas? What are you going to do? And I was expecting maybe one or two kids to say, Miss Isha, we're not putting up a Christmas tree, or we're not going to have whatever. But I had so many kids say, we can't afford a tree. We're not having anything. I'm not going to cry. And we're not having anything for Christmas. I was like, we can't supply for everybody. So I called the city. I was like, well, can I decorate Samuel Wiley Park? I'm like, that way everybody can enjoy it. So we've been doing, I think, about 4 or 5 years now. of decorating the park. We've had, Santa come out there, and I was so shocked at how many of the parents took pictures with Santa and said they've never done that. I was like, oh my God. So those are just some of the outreach activities that we tend to do and we try to do. One of the things that I learned when we started Tough Kids, I'm not usually a kid person, that's why I have a 5-month-old, but it's just not my nature to kind of deal with little kids. I like to, work with older kids and they can kind of understand what I'm talking about life. But I learned that when you work with children, literally you have to become everything that they need. So if they need a mama, they need a counselor, they need a daddy, they need a teacher, whatever they need in order to fulfill those needs, you have to kind of adapt to them. Next slide. So this summer, during the pandemic, one of the things that I noticed is kind of everybody, not everybody, but lots of people are starting businesses. So not only people starting businesses, I'm noticing the kids are becoming millionaires on YouTube and just a number of different things. So literally when we had our planning meeting, I said, well, we've got to adjust and adapt to that. How do we do that? And so one of the things I've been wanting to do is you see the tire that they kind of wrapped in the, I don't even know what that stuff is called. But I've been wanting to make a foot ottoman for years out of that, just repurposing a tire. And I thought about, I think it was last month at EDC or City Council, I can't remember which meeting it was, and we was talking about the waterway and people dumping trash and people dumping tires. And I was like, that's what we can do. Let's repurpose those tires that people are dumping. And not only can they learn how to market, because this summer we're actually working on youth entrepreneurship. So every kid from the littlest ones to the ones in high school will work on some part of entrepreneurship. But they will all work on either building benches. So we've gotten a church to donate old benches. I found out that people pay $400 to $1,200 for a little bench to go in their walkway in their homes. So I'm like, we're going to repurpose these. You all are going to learn how to market them. You're going to come figure out your costs associated with it, and you're going to sell them. But the thing is that no one kind of teaches, like, they think you just jump out there with a product and you start a business. So our whole goal this summer will be, what is coming up with your business plan and how are you going to actually get this done? So I'm really excited about that because we're kind of fixing a problem that we have as well as coming up with a product. So, but the reason that we're here tonight is that we were blessed with the opportunity to donate this building. I've been walking for years in the neighborhood in the evening times, and I saw this building, which I've known my whole life what it was. It's the Freemasons Lodge there in Precinct 20. And most of the time, not most of the time, but mostly people have forgotten it was there because you could see it was completely wooded. And so for the last couple of years, I've been writing and sending letters, and finally I got a response, and they gifted us the building. So this is on May 29th, that morning, what it looked like. And 4 hours later, Tuffy, my mom, and a couple other volunteers had cleared that property completely off. I told them I'm about to hire y'all out. But needless to say, they did an amazing, amazing job with it. Next slide. After getting the building, we had to clear it out. That's the first picture. And this is actually Tuffy and his wife, Larissa. We found out that the sheetrock was dry rotted, which I didn't even know was a thing. So we had to go in and tear out all of that sheetrock. So it's literally down to the bones at this point. Next slide. But what is our goal for it? Our goal is actually to make it a community center. A place where literally people can come and utilize it, gain some personal development, kids can have a safe place to actually go. So these are the floor plans that we've come up with so far. We were blessed. A volunteer contacted the chamber and was like, who could we help? And they directed them to us. So I thank the Lord for this. But as you can see here, this side over here is the front of the building. We'll be adding a sally port, which is kind of like a holding area, because it was brought to my attention that we should not have the public having direct access to the children when they walk in. So by adding that sally port, it will allow us to have 2 additional storage spaces on either side. We're actually reducing the size of the kitchen. I don't know what a bunch of men was doing with such a large kitchen. They didn't even have a stove. Needless to say, that gives us more space there to just have a general area for whether they're having parties, no matter what we're doing, we can literally accommodate it here. On the second floor, you see the 3 little rooms up there. Well, one of the things I noticed is, I told you the kids are making tons of money on YouTube. I was like, well, why can't we make money on YouTube? So those are actually two small sound booths, as well as a mixing room on the top corner. And then the larger room next to is the video and audio engineering room. So I'm really excited about that. On the other side of the wall, on the right side, that's actually a classroom. We're going to be adding an extra bathroom because there's only 2 existing bathrooms on the floor on the bottom. And then a rack room. And a rack room is essentially a room where you have all of your servers and computer network and stuff. So that'll go in that little corner, and then an office. So then it becomes about how in the world did we get there? When I first sent the letter out to them, I was thinking a couple of years ago it's going to cost us about $60,000 to get this building in shape. And I'm like, and we're pretty handy, so we're going to get in there and do a lot of that ourselves. But currently what we're looking at is almost $200,000 to get this building into complete shape and have it operational. So I've set up some sponsorship levels and what actually comes along with it. So the first one being a foundation sponsor, and that is $25,000, and it's a 5-year sponsorship. But with that, you actually get to name the building for 5 years. I thought about the fact when I first started in financial planning, I worked at the AXA building there in Oklahoma City. 4 years later, it became a MetLife building, and they paid $25 million for it. And I was like, people pay money to put their names on buildings. So anyway, so I literally just tried to come up with a sponsorship package that I believe that incrementally could be affordable for some of the businesses here. I actually have one electrical already sponsored as of today. So I'm pretty excited about that one. So our goal, I would really love to have this building operational for Christmas and to have our Christmas party there. Because every year when we have a Christmas party, we end up, renting the log cabin or something like that. And then in years we've basically not gotten it in time, and then could not do the party. But anyway, these are the sponsorship levels that we're looking for. The first 4 are only single sponsorship because we only have, one classroom, one audio-visual room, one general room, of course, the name and everything. But that's that. Next slide. So then it becomes, how is it that if you are to actually sponsor, where do we go from always asking for sponsorships? Because that's my question if someone is asking for my money. Well, what you gonna do after I give you my money? So one of the things I thought about, because I actually see this happen, that the kids from Precinct 20 cross over San Jacinto and Washington to get to the gas station over there. On the south end, they cross over 787 to get to, I can't think of it, used to be SunTrust. Fuel Depot. And it's just extremely dangerous. When I grew up, we had Miss Rachel's store there that we can always run to and grab things. But the kids don't have that. And so when I was in college, we didn't have a convenience store on campus. We call it the C-store. So you could just run in there and get little things that you needed. And so my hope is to not only have a C-store, but also to provide some home ownership. So I learned that the USDA actually has a loan packaging program called the 502. And the 502 loan packaging program is basically designed to get low to moderate income families into home ownership. So in January, I took the opportunity to become certified as a USDA loan packager. What that does is they will essentially, if in the real world, if you got a mortgage, you will pay a loan origination fee. In the government world, it doesn't work that way. You essentially pay a processor fee. But my hope is not for me to physically get paid, it's for that money to actually go to Tough Kids, right? And then I learned that in that process, they have what's called intermediary. There is not a single intermediary in the whole state of Texas. So if you wanted to package loans, which I'm currently doing, I've assisted like 4 families right here in Cleveland with getting a USDA 502 loan in the past 2 years. You have to get a point where the company in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or New Mexico. So my hope is that I can basically process a minimum of 20 loans through the USDA. They would allow Tough Kids then to become an intermediary. And then I can teach other nonprofits how to do the same. So if Tough Kids is then the intermediary, essentially When those other nonprofits package a loan, we sign off on it and then send it to Huntsville, and they say, yep, it's completed and it's in good order. By doing that, we can generate $1,500 per loan. And so my hope is with that, I'll essentially be able to generate a minimum of $30,000 a year by packaging loans. And that's not including getting any other nonprofits to actually generate income for themselves. And then with the C-store. So that's how I plan to make this building operational and self-sufficient on its own. So are there any questions? I'm sure there's tons of questions.
A couple of questions.
Uh-huh.
The children that make up tough kids, where do you get them? Are they children with parents, not parents, or what age limits?
So the kids allowed to come to Tough Kids are 7 to 18.
7 to 18?
Yes,
Okay.
because I don't want no accidents, and I'm not changing no babies. But we typically lose them at about 15, 16 years old when they start getting summer jobs. For the most part, it's always been open to any child. But a couple years ago, with basically a shortage of volunteers, I had to limit it to 30 children. Because there's a difference when you have 30 kids and they're sitting in a classroom. But if you have 30 kids and you're up at the boxing gym, that's a huge safety hazard. So I try to keep the ratio of 10 to 1 for children to volunteers. So on any given day, I can only be certain that I'm actually going to have 3 volunteers that day. So that's why I have to limit it, that way. So one of the things on top of all of it, I'm always constantly asking, can you come volunteer? Can you give me 3 hours? Can you give me 2 hours? But that's how we do that. And so when I limited it to the 30 kids, what actually happened was it was first come, first serve. And so in the past, it's basically mean you go online, you download the application, and you turn it in. This year, with Jeff coming on board, who's designing the building, we're actually able to get the application live online. And so that's supposed to be done this week. So they'll be able to go online and not just download the form, but actually apply there. And then I don't have to sit and do all this keying at the end of it from the applications. So that will again broaden the spectrum of children, and the cross section of children who will actually be at camp. So for the last few years, it's been majority Black, of course, is there, increasing 20. And then we would have a couple white kids and then a couple Hispanic kids. But when we first started, it was literally a mix of everybody. But when we had to do that limitation, it kind of eliminated that. And I really hate that because we lost one. Our little Hispanic kid has been coming since he was 7 years old. And I was like, well, where is he? And then, the phone number changed, and I was like, I can't find him. And so he's the reason why we had to go to beef hot dogs because his family didn't eat pork. But anyway, so that's how we get the
One more question. When these children are in your care, they're what hours and how many days a week?
Yeah, so they're there 5 days a week from 8 until 4:30. And so they get there. Well, actually, we have some who get there before 8 because their parents have to drop them off to go to work. So I have a volunteer who gets there about 7, and she waits with them until we get there and get started. They have breakfast every morning, and then after breakfast, we start stretching and exercising. So it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then at 12, we have lunch. Then they're doing the exercise, whatever exercise it is that week. So if it's basketball week, if it's football, tennis, or unfortunately, we can't do boxing anymore. That was my favorite week back when we can go to the boxing gym, but they made too much noise. And so Mr. Buckley's like, can y'all move this to the evening? But needless to say, so then after they leave class, they bring them back. So we typically have class at the high school. So they may move us around depending on what construction projects are actually happening at the school. Then we transport them back to St. Wally Park. So we begin and end every day, no matter what week it is or what activity we're doing. And then 4:30 camp is over. We give them a snack, and then they go home.
Okay. That's the end. Any questions?
You read at St. Wally Park?
Every morning, yeah. Every morning they read.
Okay, can you sort of iterate on the transportation? You were telling us that you transport them back, so let the board know how you transporting these kids.
So we actually have one 15-passenger van. I want to say it's like a 99 or 2000. We actually bought it. Maybe. Yeah, so we bought it from Net Head Start a few years ago. Well, actually, like the second year we started Tech Camp, and they was getting rid of old vans, and so we were able to buy that one for I think $2,500 or something like that. And and we've been using that same van. We just get it tuned up every year, but it's like a Duracell battery. And then when we have field trips, because we try to take them on culture and educational field trips every Friday, then the different dealerships will partner and let us use different vehicles that they have so that we can get them there and bring them back safely.
Y'all are a nonprofit, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. 501c3.
Okay, that's the only question I had. I think it's a very excellent program what you're doing.
Thank
you
you.
for that.
Thank you.
And is this 8 to 4, this time frame? I'm assuming these camps are in the summer?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And I will say that this year, just because of the building project, camp is only going to be 3 weeks because I need to focus on raising money. And so I want to give the kids something. We will do some activities for the older kids throughout the summer. We are doing, a couple of years ago, as you see, we went to UT. So we kind of did a major college tour besides, what's the one in Baylor? We didn't go up there. But, so we did most of the major colleges in the area. So this year we would like to focus on HBCUs. But that would just be the older kids. But that will probably be just 1 week, every week after the main camp actually.
One more question. Have you reached out on any type of grants, or has that been successful for you in any way?
Absolutely. So one of the ones that's been a tremendous blessing to us over the last few years is Save the Children. We first started, they reached out, they were trying to expand into Liberty County. And then I think they gave us like $5,000 for some things that we needed. And then they came back and said, Isha, no, what do you need? And so that year, well, year before last, they gave us $12,000. We were able to get new sporting equipment, a new storage building. I mean, everything from like battle ropes. You see people doing these, what do you call them? Yeah.
CrossFit.
Yeah, CrossFit type thing, medicine ball. I mean, literally, we could open a gym. But we're excited about that. Also included in that, because you see the classroom, the computer lab, we were able to buy, with that grant, 15 laptops. We were able to buy cameras, as well as green screen. I even got a director's chair because they're going to feel really special. And so the thing is, I want to just provide them with the opportunities. And I definitely see that my hope is that we're starting to introduce them to entrepreneurship, that I can kind of literally wing that into making them employable, teaching them job readiness skills, so they will actually manage and run that C-store. I've actually been working with Texas Workforce to not only do a summer internship program, but also a MET program for the senior citizens. So I will train them in that 502 program so that they can actually help me with processing those loans and getting them job skills there as well. So I'm extremely excited about that.
I just wanted to say, we appreciate you taking the time. We'd like to hear from Mr. Williams as well. I don't know, you don't talk that much.
No, I'm talking. I will, if anybody have any questions for me, I'll be more than willing to answer any questions. Issa, you see, she had to put a time on.
We know she likes to talk, so.
Good with me. That's why I needed her. When we started this, man, it was no other person. First person came to mind was Isha. I know she takes care of business. I know it's gonna be done right. I knew what it was gonna be, so, and it has been with her. So I'm just excited, deluded,
Well, you said a key word earlier. You said exposure, and I just felt like it was needed to be exposed to the board, what you were doing, and just, put it out there. We don't have a boys and girls club in Cleveland. We don't have anything to that effect, and they've been working very, very hard. Starting out solely donations.
Yeah.
That's all they have.
And feed them sandwiches, ham and cheese sandwiches.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I just think this would be a great opportunity for us to sort of support an organization of this type. It's needed. It's well needed. And again, that was a very good presentation. Thank you.
And we're not trying to limit it to precinct 20.
No.
So not limited to precinct 20.
Yeah.
That's where it's located,
and we need a building. You know what I'm saying? And it was nothing here, nobody was, I mean, so now that we have a building, you know, a lot of things can happen, bigger things, greater things, you know. When the COVID went down, we had computers, nowhere to go. You know, we could have been a hub. You know, that could have been a hub, you know, for a lot of the kids in the different communities, different neighborhoods. That could have been a hub. You know, we had the stuff, and we were like, man, nowhere to go. You know, we had people willing to come in to assist the kids, nowhere to go. So it just.
Thank you.
Ms. Jones, I'm gonna comment, I know it's a good program, exciting, I know about 4 years ago, we put a fishing trip together, and we had about 12 kids or so, and those kids were so excited, they came out and spent the day fishing on the pond, and
Yeah, so
that was good.
every summer we ask them, what can we do better? Because it's different. One of the things that you do sales, you can't just sell a product. There has to be a need for it. And so one of the things that we ask them is, what can we do better to service you? And so the kids said, we've never been fishing. Some of the boys. And I was like, y'all have never been fishing. So I literally called Willie Carter. I was like, Willie, I got about 12, 15 boys out here who say they've never been fishing. And he said, well, let me call Robert Reynolds and we're going to take these kids fishing.
And then that was nice. I mean, y'all presented the flag.
Yeah.
It was a good deal for the kids. So I know you're a nonprofit. And so y'all have your 501(c)(3) it's in place. And you're good there. So, but in the past 4 years, the kids, and I know you had about 12 then. You probably have more kids, but how many, in 4 years, how much has it grown?
So that was 12 boys that wanted to go fishing. So that day we took the girls and they did a spa day.
Okay.
So I've learned, like I said, to kind of separate them sometimes. Even when we do field trips, sometimes it's just one of those things. It's easy for Tuffety or some of the guys to take the boys and me a couple of ladies to handle the girls. But literally, it's up until we had to limit it, we would have anywhere from 50 to 60 kids a day. And that was kind of chaotic and it's so exciting at the same time. So yeah.
We'll keep up the good work.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
You did a great job. I love your presentation.
Thank you.
Let me say thank you. Great presentation. I know it takes a lot of courage to come, stand and present stuff to a panel. I'm very excited. I've been in Cleveland over 30 years. I can tell you that I'm glad to see somebody else that want to do something, make a difference. I would personally, and we can talk after this meeting, I got things that I think I can help you with. But have you talked to any of the local contractors here in town?
I have not. So what I've done so far, besides coming up with the estimate of all the costs, is I come up with a materials list, and I'm like, okay, what can we get sponsored or donated? So I don't know the local contractor, so I've asked Scott Lambert. I'm like, can you help me, like, he's in real estate, who's building? See if they could do whatever it may be. So no, I am looking for that type of assistance because I realize that every little bit helps. So if you're willing to help, believe me, we're willing to accept.
Well, thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
And Mr. Lacy, I want to jump in there. You're talking about your contractor and our local building supply company. You know, they may be willing to donate material.
Yeah, and they're on my list as well. So believe me, I'm trying not to leave any stone unturned, but it's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And so even like when we learned about the sheetrock, and Jeff called, he was like, well, what about your cabling? I was like, wait, what's cabling? And he said, well, while your walls are exposed, get your cabling done. And I was like, well, I'm just going to call AT&T. He said, each of your building is 70 years old. You can't just call. And it's one of those things that I didn't know what I did not know. So we're always, looking and open for advice.
I'd like to mention one more thing. It's something that I've really been trying to push in CISD is building trades. And that would be a great program, and maybe, and somehow they could work with something like your group to go in there and.
That is my hope. So I've actually spoken to one individual there, and I'm like, hey, you have welding class, you have wood shop, you have all these things. Can these kids come over here and help work on some of those things? And so I'm kind of looking for direction there, because they were like,
Well, this exposure that you gave us today only sparks interest and wheels turning, so that's a good thing.
thank you.
We'll certainly think about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So EDC is a corporation that we try to help people in many ways. So I know you mentioned, I saw your program about sponsorship, but what can EDC do? I mean, we've heard people speak about what I know somebody that would. What from EDC are you asking now?
Literally, I'm asking EDC if you could potentially be one of those economic or financial sponsors at whatever level.
Would you repeat what the levels were?
So $25,000 for the foundation sponsor, the roofing is $15,000, framing are $10,000 a piece, and that will sponsor two of the audiovisual room or either the classroom. And then $5,000, and that's basically just signage on your name on the building, and then it goes to website and all that. But the top sponsors literally is a kind of a 5-year sponsorship. So whatever you were to sponsor on that level, it will literally be 5 years. That your name will be on there.
You would donate that much each year?
No.
5 years?
So if you did the $25,000 sponsorship, basically you would have the right to name it. You can name it EDC Community Center for all we would care, and there would be that name for 5 years. So that's what would come with that sponsorship.
Okay, I understand more now. I'd suggest at EDC that we have talk about this, maybe in executive session, decide what we might want to do, if anything. Thank you again, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 12, presentation with discussion and possible action on request for support for Cleveland Chamber of Commerce for the Leadership East Texas program.
And forgive me, I gotta jump out to get to the senior sponsor now, but Tuck is here to answer any questions you all have after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. One of the goals of the chamber is always to improve our community. And this was something we talked about 3 years ago. And we were scheduled to kick it off in 2020. And it was originally going to be Leadership Liberty County. But we felt because of where we're located close into the county, we wanted to call it Leadership East Texas, because we do a lot of work with San Jacinto County and Northeast Montgomery County and Polk County and Liberty County. So our mission is to identify and develop emerging leaders, get some homegrown leaders in our community that understand local industry, local issues, and to help cultivate their leadership skills and make the community a better place to live, work, and shop and play. Our mission, we identify and recruit potential leaders. We educate these potential leaders, provide experience in local community enhancement and leadership skills, facilitate relationships. One of the most important things in leaders is that they develop a relationship with other leaders in the community. So by having East Texas, the area we're covering, while they're going through this program, they're going to develop friendships and relationships with other future leaders of the community. We encourage the enhancement of ideas and actions to create equality in the community and economic development. The program is a 6-month program. It's 1 day a month. And the course of work includes visioning, building relationships, emotional intelligence, performance management, We have a class project usually for the community area. Product conflict, communications, and social media, serving the community, and a graduation ceremony. The member organizations in our group are chambers of commerce, municipal governing bodies, county governing bodies, independent school districts, community EDCs and boards, and then the alumni. People that graduate from the program will probably be part of the alumni and grow it a little bit more. Our initial class will start in September, and we're looking at 20 to 25 students for the first class. We already incorporated, it's not part of the chamber, it's a separate corporation, Leadership East Texas Incorporated. And it's a 501(c)(3), we're just waiting for our approval. We've already submitted the paperwork. We incorporated last year, and we filed for the 501(c)(3) in January. The support for the program, it's not a free program. I've said for years, being in business, if it's free, it's worthless. If somebody feels, oh, I can do this, maybe I won't make a commitment. So we're looking for a commitment. The normal tuition for a student for this whole program, including the graduation, is around $600. Now our memberships, and for the EDC, it's a $1,500 membership per year. And with that, you get 2 scholarships that you give out to people that you pick, whoever you want to go to the program, whether it be EDC members. And our other source of income is sponsorships. And we're working with, we've got a submission into Entergy, and we're looking at Google and some other sponsorships for this program. Now, I was through this program in 2002, and I've been in management for many years, but I was very impressed with the fact that, you know, everybody thinks they're a good manager until they meet other managers and find out the best way to learn things is through other managers. This is taught by professionals. It's not, you know, let's get a group of guys together and teach this program. This is a professional organization, and they're toned to teach in small community, not big town, downtown Houston type stuff. We've already got one school district signed up for it, and a couple chambers, and we're working with some outside cities and EDC. We've got 4 board members right now. We're going to have it take it to 7. We've got 4 of them from the Cleveland area. We're looking for one from San Jacinto County, one from Polk County, and then one from East Liberty County, I guess you'd call it, down toward Liberty and Dayton. And so we'd like to invite the EDC to be a part of our program. As I said, it's a separate entity from the chamber. The chamber started it. Leadership Montgomery County started back in the 80s, and it's a humongous organization now, but they train their leaders for the Montgomery County area, the Woodlands, Conroe, and everything like that. That was originally started by the Chamber of Commerce, and that's what we want to do, is kick it off and get it going, and then it'll be it is a separate entity. We're just using our people to, you know, kind of do the footwork right now until it gets to that point. But I think it's going to be a great thing for our community. It's something we lack, you know. One of the biggest problems I hear from business is it's hard to get leaders training. There is no other program in the area right now that trains local leaders. And I think this is going to be a great addition to our community here. And the fact that the Cleveland area started is going to be a big feather in our cap too. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Rich Carson, I'd like to bring us up in executive session also.
Sure, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 13, discussion, possible action on annual sponsorship of EDC to cities 4th of July event in and out of $2,000 from our amount approved at EDC. We had this on our last month's agenda, and I think the theme was, really the question was 2,000 or more. And I think Mr. Rowan, you have something to add to this tonight?
Yeah, I have someone that has made a pledge. I mean, I'm gonna pick up a check tomorrow for $3,500 from the company, and he's hoping maybe next month do another 3,500. But he has pledged for more, I can get a check from him, so our company's gonna make a donation. Takes a concrete heavy gravel. And, he was gonna do more this month, but I think the same plants are underwater right now, so it's been a bad week for the businesses. But he said he'd like to go ahead and do 35, and then next month try to do another 35. And then I have someone else I'm talking to, so.
And that would bring it up to what, you know?
Well, we have,
Well, the city did too, and they were 35, that's 50,000. I don't know, maybe way from them. But we also help other people that make different.
I have a question for you, Ms. Angela. Do we have anything from the previous, is there anything that was set aside previous for this?
I will bring that to this later. We have so far $5,000 that we have collected from the vendors. I know we have Entergy that is gonna give us some money, but we don't know how much yet.
Okay, so there we have 5
Yeah.
so far. So that brings it to 85.
Well, I think we believe we can raise
85.
$15,000 because we need to give them half, by June, I believe, because they request half of it, by June, and then the remaining, when they're doing the show.
What are we speaking of at this time, the cost, 15,000?
Yes, 15.
Has ATV been a big sponsor of this at one time?
They haven't.
They never have.
Oh, they have.
Yes.
In the
I didn't-
past, but they
I didn't hear you.
haven't received the check. And we don't know if they're going to sponsor or not.
And I reached out.
That would be with Ashley.
Yeah, we can have staff reach out. I did want to add, that Clint Pendleton gave a donation for his 3 businesses, Agave, Tri-County Pharmacy, the Texan Theater, Olson and Olson, HR Green, the Bell Unit, Martin Chevrolet, Veritex, CYBA, and the Chamber have all contributed. We also may have some funds left over from last year. I'm pretty sure we do, and we can get an accounting for that. I did look, we did have a discussion. I went with Ashley to go talk to the school district. Ashley's heading the program. The CISD gave conditional approval for the use of the high school stadium, and that was in early March. And then Celestial Display will conduct the 4th of July fireworks. I did talk to them, or with Mike Hundash, to see if we could, because I got the consensus last time we were looking at possibly upping it, if we could get more funding and possibly put on a bigger show. But he's already set on the show, and he would need more lead time to create a bigger show. Might be something we can look at next year.
Do you mind me asking with the vendor names you just informed us of, what is the total dollar amount on that?
All those come out to 5,000, but I believe we have additional funding from last year because it got canceled, and I know we had some funding. So it's a matter of getting an accounting for that from the prior year, 3,446. So we're almost there. If we get to 3,500, we're almost there.
So half that you need is there.
Any comments from the right side of the section? I'm sorry, Bobby, you through?
Yes.
Patrick?
The dollar amount that you're looking at, We're set at 15,000, you're saying, correct? Okay, so whatever monies that we bring in this year could go toward next year, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Good. Shelley, any comment? Mr. Lacy? I'm gonna be the bummer in the crowd. Fireworks is great, Fourth of July is definitely something we should celebrate, but it tears me up in 30 minutes at 15,000. I'm sorry, that's the way I feel about it. Now, should we do something? Yes. But, I'd much rather see that 15,000 go to landscaping, something to be around year long. I'd rather see that go to something like Tough Kids. But that's just me, and thank goodness we have 6 other people that have different opinions.
I don't think you're alone on that thought. I feel the same way. And I would also like to mention this one vendor, was it Energy or?
Yeah.
I think that potentially could probably be a pretty big amount.
Well, I think it wouldn't be that hard for us to get the 15,000, you know, when you add what you've already talked about, EDC does the 2,000. And at the end of it, we need another 1,000, I'm sure it's, you're supposed to make a difference. So it says, discussion and possible action. I guess we actually do need to approve even the 2,000, because last time we tabled this. Do I hear a motion?
Is that what we
Take a
gave
motion.
last year? I'm sorry. Is that- okay.
That's what we've been doing for half a year.
I make a motion that we approve 2,000.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second, any further discussion? Not all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous, we approve $2,000 toward the Fourth of July celebration. Number 14, discussion and possible action on 2021 LSD event. Does anybody have something? I think somebody has something now, but I'd like to see a committee formed to discuss what we do this year. Were you going to that, Mr. Dean?
Yes, Mr. President, the reason I was asking for this, item to be, here, because we sort of pushed it back because of the COVID, everything's been pushed back because of the COVID. But, I just want to see some different things included in LIC, and possibly, outside speaker to come in for inspiration or something, because I don't know if we had the last time. A lot of times we have like the local people, but it's just sometimes we need to go outside and bring in some fresh ideas or do something totally different. And we have a lot of growth that's going on, so a committee would be great to sit down and sort of plan what we want to do. That way we can bring in other businesses as well. What exactly is
LIC,
LIC? I've never.
who wants to take that?
We've had it, we've been doing it about in the springtime, we've been doing it for the past 5, 6 years or something like that. And what we do, we bring in this, local business, get to join, not many of them, but realtors, and developers and investors, they come in from other markets, and so they can see what's going on in Cleveland. Now I'm gonna go back, just 4 or 5 years back, it's not been much going on, but in the past few years, lately we've changed, we've increased. Just like every day, like today, I talked to another gentleman from out of state. We have more, these investors and developers are looking at Cleveland, so we invite these kind of people here to see what properties are available, what's going on. I'm gonna comment to Ms. Clay's comment. Now we have the BNSF project. That was in play last year, it was talked about more so. Now it's in place. So things like that, kind of introduce that. We've been doing luncheons and we do a bus tour to kind of, cater to these kind of people.
It's mainly promoting Cleveland through EDC and people that maybe not normally come to Cleveland, but then we bring them and show them what we've got. know we've done the bus tour every year. First, it was a great success. I'd like to see us do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Maybe the bus tour is still needed. That's what we need to have that discussion. We need a committee. I don't know why we couldn't just have an EDC work. They will discuss it.
The whole.
That way everybody can be a part of it.
Are we going to, try to have it this year? Even though we didn't have it in April, we still gonna try to have it
I
next
think because COVID, we moved it back in the fall. So we haven't selected a day, but I think all of
year?
what was.
I think that's good, yeah.
And because we didn't have one last year, I think we do need to do it this year.
And we could, maybe skip the bus tour and have more, like this place said, have another speaker or something come in, spend that time discussing things, so.
I don't know if we have it this year, if we have enough time to notify outside or something, yes, and you want that, because that's part of the exposure. You know, we don't want to just keep it in-house.
How much time do you think we need?
Well, I don't know, people have their calendars and some
Well, if you
people's
said
calendars.
3 months, you're looking at June, July, August, you're looking at September. If you said 4 months, you're looking at October.
Yeah, just look at
I just hate to miss another
vacation
year.
times and all that, I don't know, I have no idea, but I just don't think that to have something that's, I'm not gonna say very nice, but to have something that you think would be, just my word, effective, or you just need friends,
And with the new situation, with the COVID situation, people are still a little timid about travel.
And that's a good point too. I mean, even this year, things aren't back to normal.
Not yet, no.
So I mean, if we maybe keep it to the spring, we start pushing toward that, and start working together, and workshop planning this thing.
Any comments, Patrick?
No, sir.
Mr. Lacy? Again, I hate to say it's this another year, but there again, planning, need to do it, we can maybe do it because we didn't do it last year, we're not gonna do it this year, but we could put more into it for coming year, coming spring. I'm open to what the board, Rick, decide.
Yes.
Start from your son, Carol.
I'm just thinking, you know, rules are turning down.
Well, we'll go to the other and come back and get your back.
Just bring
What's
the-
the question?
The question is do we want to table it, postpone it till the spring 2022?
I would say so. We keep it the same format that we've been doing every year. And if you do it anytime earlier and then you try to do it within 5, 6 months in the spring, it comes springtime. Do we set the agenda every year, whatever we postpone it to, or I think we just go back to springtime. It's not, stay with it.
Michelle?
That gives plenty of time to plan.
I agree. Totally agree.
Well, in our budget, I think, what do we set aside? Marketing, is that where it comes in?
It's usually around $6,000 a year.
Is that what we use to spend the bus and lunch and giveaways?
Yes.
Yeah, we do certain numbers, so we could maybe use that funds to make it bigger, better in coming spring.
Sure.
So I guess, there'll be a motion, but I guess that's the majority decision is to postpone it until spring of 2022.
I'll make a motion that we, postpone the, Allied State until the spring of 2022.
With making a workshop soon, prior to, when we start working. on it.
Yes, oh, yes.
Have a motion from Merrill and a second from Michelle. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Item number 15, discussion of possible action on attendance at the Economic Development Sales Tax Workshop in Houston on November 5th, 2021. We've actually got, where the location is and also the time.
Yes, sir, this is, well, there's several I'm looking for here. But the closest one's gonna be November the 5th in Houston.
That's,
And,
yeah, Doubletree and Hobby.
yes, sir, that's the one I would suggest that, you know, I mean, I believe, I'll be going, I believe, Bobby, yeah. And Savannah, Angela, so we'll probably go and some of you more, because I'm sure want to go or need to go. But I would say the one in November, what I suggest, in Houston, because it's local.
I couldn't read the fine print, had to use my magnifying glass at home, but I think the tuition is $370.
175.
$175 per person, and we've got that covered in our budget.
Yes, sir.
I would encourage all of us to go.
I agree.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
it's from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Yes, ma'am.
I entertain the motion for attending the ED sales tax workshop in Houston.
I make the motion to attend the sales tax workshop in Houston.
You have a motion? A motion.
Second. I'll second that.
You have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Right, we need to, I guess, yeah, for Angela to make the reservations, and get it, we need to know for sure, we need to commit tonight, you wanna go or not.
Y'all hear that?
No.
For Angela to make a reservation, we need a commitment for whoever will be attending.
Am I correct to say that's on a Friday?
Usually it's Thursday,
It's
Friday.
on Friday.
Yeah.
You can always cancel it. What's the cancellation, deadline? Did they have that on there?
Like I said, it's very fine print.
That's why I'm asking that.
If the event is in November, you can let me know later. I just need to know who is attending so that I can make the reservation.
Well, I can tell you that. I'll move. Yeah. Just in that order.
I know November the 5th is usually a good hunting day, but I'm required to go, so I will be hunting that day.
December 3rd is another alternative that's, I believe, in San Antonio or Austin. Austin.
There are other dates that do require travel with hotels, so we simply choose the one in Houston, but if it doesn't work, there are other dates. If you just go to the website, TEDC, they'll have them all listed there.
I guess, put it this way, if you don't think you can make November the 5th, raise your hand, let us know, otherwise we'll send everybody to sign it. I know that that's a few months away, sometimes plans change, things happen, so we just have to let Angela know if you can't make it. Hopefully it'll be in time for to withdraw, if not, we'll have to do it. Item number 16, discussion and possible action on update the proposed school road project between Farm Market Road 2025 and Feeder Road US 59. Mr. Reynolds, you got anybody you want to share with us on that, or you have it now?
Yeah, no, sir, I don't have my map, but, you know, this is a road, and I will say this, I mean, there's still, we discussed last month, EDC contributed to this, and we talked about maybe EDC, contributed and up to $1 million on the road. And we also have some things, we talked about the survey. Survey will run around $15,000, what we talked about, to get center line and outline.
Again, item 17.
Sorry?
Item 17 discusses the survey, student just.
Okay, well, anyway, and, I know we went to Austin last week, Mr. Page and I, we talked to TxDOT. So TxDOT's going to start looking at this, and, there's still a lot of things that gotta be done as of yet. Because there's wetlands, there's studies to be done, so. But, and I will comment one thing, when we first started looking at this, and I even made the comment, I said we need this road because the EDC, we need the land, we need property along the feeder there. Well, with the wetlands coming into play, it might change things for us, a feeder right there. We may not have the property along the feeder. You still have Frank Lynn's property and open that up. But until we get all these studies back, look at them, really, it's kind of, in the dark right now.
Further investigation into the route of the road is bringing in over some wetlands, which may mean a bridge, which drives up the cost. So this particular time, and also that frontage road, that property being in the wetlands, you cannot build on it. So that means for EDC to participate, we've got to create jobs or participate in that. And I think there's just so many things that have to be worked out. You got so many different entities. You've got TxDOT, you've got Corps of Engineers that need to be involved, TCQ. Really, it's going to take lots of work finding out really what it's going to cost. It says discussion of possible action, but I don't see that any action. They already took action to up to $1 million from our last meeting. So I don't see anything that needs to be action on item 16.
I'd like to add to what Mr. Reynolds had said.
Go right in.
So, we did find out that, it had quite a bit of wetlands. There's a creek there. We knew that all along, but we didn't know to what extent. And, the property frontage itself is in the floodplain. We're looking at a 1985 report. I think that when they did the floodplain analysis, it was when they did the bypass to 59. So we don't know how much has changed. The actual engineers for the school feel like that it's probably worse than what's stated in the 1985 report. But we wanted to kind of bring it back to you, let you know where we are on the status of it, because we talked about only $1 million. I don't feel comfortable with the EDC going more than $1 million, because the idea is that we'd have the frontage to sell the commercial space. There is quite a bit of land that's still there, that's available for commercial. It's just being able to see it from the freeway is so important. But we also had, when we had our last meeting, we talked about meeting back with Felix Fu and discussion of Franklin's property. And they will only agree to platting of the right-of-way this time. Only the right-of-way at this time. I pushed to see if they would put some cash towards the project, explaining that, if you participate with the school and the city at the same time, then you would be able to have some cost savings. I just don't think it's there. I don't think that they're not willing to put any cash. However, they will give the right of way, and I feel like that we should pursue that avenue. go ahead and get the next item, 17, being the survey. Go ahead and get the survey for the right-of-way. If they're gonna give us that, let's at least get that. We'll figure out how to bridge the gap, pardon the pun, but, we're looking at a bridge that may cost itself 1.4 million. And, TMP had said that, was it 13 culverts that they would need? So basically,
If it's box cover, we'll do it, but yes, at least that, but by the time you spend that kind of money for that, it may balance out to go ahead and do
a bridge.
a bridge.
So then that led us to, there's a couple of items that if we agree to do this, we also, if we spend the $15,000, we're thinking for the survey, we're going to ask for Franklin to participate, but they have to annex. I mean, that's the important step that we looked at to claim that sales
We have
tax.
a voluntary annexation to the city.
Correct.
Then the city has to go and make it within the city limits for it to play in the EDC the way it has to.
Correct. So there's a lot of loose ends that would have to come together, but the thought is that we go ahead and move forward with the right-of-way survey. Now for TMP's to do the hydrology and all that, we can't afford to do that. We're just gonna do the survey. And then from the recent trip to Austin, we learned that TxDOT has loan funding that I did not know. And they assist communities as they recover right now with the COVID. So there's a Texas State Infrastructure Bank, and they provide the local governments with the opportunity to access funding at 0%. And that's for the first 3 years. So I don't know the specifics. We only sat in that meeting and they actually told me that they have this bank of money. And so then I went off and researched it, and there is a pot of money. I don't know exactly what the details are and how much red tape's involved. I'm hoping not a lot, but that is something that we need to pursue. And one of the ideas that we thought is to go ahead and build the road to where the bridge is, if we're agreeable to that, and then maybe have a service road that goes around the creek, because there's possibly access that way, and then we go find the funding for the bridge at some other point. Because I think that the road is critical for growth in that area. So we'll continue to plug away and try to find it, if we can get this funding and how quickly. It was something we just learned on Friday afternoon. So
I have a question.
Yes.
If you're talking about rerouting, basically, because of the wetlands, right? Rerouting a service road, is that what you think?
Yeah, I'm really concerned about the wetlands.
Okay, if you're doing that, though, why not just reroute a road?
You can, but the idea is we want to line it up with the intersection. So does Texas.
I just mean a curve and don't go back.
Correct. And I thought that would be a great way to handle that problem. But that might put us too close to the on-ramp and off-ramp. So we want to make sure long-term we're in the right spot. But we may want a commercial service road that would benefit more commercial, more value. And we understand from Felix Fu and Frank Lynn that it doesn't seem like getting the easement is the issue. At least that's what they say. So let's get the right of way that we want to work for commercial. And my thought is that you have the 4-lane right of way, but we also do a service road that will get us around the creek. And in the interim, you could come with the bus on the backside and then come up. And then we find the funding for the bridge that will make a more direct route.
So there are other alternatives that we can look into, so it's not dead in the water here.
Correct.
I'm gonna go ahead and bring in item 17 on this, because we are discussing the survey, and help me if I'm wrong, but I think Washburn's quote was 5,500 to do a center line on the road and going both ways with 90-foot right of way. And it's 5,500. He was quoting anything other than that was 200 an hour. And I think he quoted 1,500 if they had to do the boundaries and tying stuff at Highway 59. And my point of this, the tech spot's gotta be involved. I would think they would take care of that. So we're still looking right now, what we're talking about, center right of way road is less than $7,000. So what we approved last week, the 15,000, did we actually do that as approved? We did do, I believe, on the survey.
Yes, I believe we did. I don't know if we threw actual dollar amount, but that's kind of in my ballpark is what I was thinking we would spend. I know that we talked about as the airport.
Spending up to that amount.
Right.
I do want us to pursue a survey that will allow us to get a plat, because that's what Franklin or Felix Fu wanted, was a plat for us to submit to them and basically donate the land.
And I was gonna comment same thing, we've gotta have that to get that agreement so we can move forward to make sure we've got that, so.
I believe also in his comment of his survey was for that amount of money, I believe was to locate the corner property of the subdivision near there, the residential area. Yeah, I believe it was already his, estimate, if that's what he included.
Yes, correct, which is not their piece of property. There's a small triangle. That's correct.
Don't really see there's any action needed on 16 or 17.
No, there's no action on either one. I just wanted to give you an update and let you know where we are. You did ask for us to give us an update on our negotiation with the property owner, as well as what we found out on the funding. So that's where we are.
And I was gonna comment, that trip to Austin last week was, really good, because, we visited with a couple of our state reps, our senators, and they brought in the main people in TxDOT in Austin. So this road is getting focused now. So, and I told them, I even made the comment, y'all are gonna be needing this road as much as Cleveland, because once y'all start working on 2025, and you start tearing that bridge down, y'all will be having access. I said, so really need to help as much as you can. So, but yeah, I feel it's really good trip.
Any further discussion on item 16 or 17 from anybody? I would like for us to go into executive session to discuss 3 items. I don't know if we read this one. Going into closed executive session. Okay, Texas Government Code Section 551.072, deliberations about the sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Item B, Texas Local Government Code 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations to discuss deliberation regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body has received from the business prospect that the governmental body seeks to allocate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body, in which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations. So we now retire to the executive. open session. There is nothing to report from the executive session, but we do need to reopen item number 11 of our agenda. Presentation with discussion and possible action on the Tuckhead program support request. I'm opening it up for any comments, suggestions, discussion.
Mr. President, I think due to that, this, program has been in operation for some time, and, we know that they're doing a good job, and they gave us a wonderful presentation, to show us what they're really doing, and they're already in place, and have been in place for X amount of years, I'm not sure how many years, but 11 years, I mean, I don't even know if it's that long, but, I think that the EDC, part of being economic development, we should go to the max. I mean, that's just my opinion, because I think it's a worthy cause, and it'll be a very significant impact of something that the economic development, is contributing.
Under what categories does Tough Kids fall under? It's not creating jobs, community improvement.
Well, you could do it as community improvement, but you already have funds that are budgeted for marketing, and they were looking for you to have something named. And to me, want to get a legal understanding of it, but we may be able to get some naming of a room or whatever. That's marketing and promotion. We could do some kind of incentive, so you could tie it to a kind of educational type, what we did with CISD. You could do it that way. I've also seen community grants that are done, but we didn't budget anything that way this year. So it would be October before we could do something different that was community related as far as a community grant. But you do have the marketing funds available, and you could tie it to some kind of educational incentive. And we budgeted $10,000 for education. It's about, what did we say about? We thought we'd have about 10,000 left for the year.
We have to leave some in there if we're going to attend this economic workshop. It's marketing.
I did include that when I looked at it. If you'll give me just a moment, I've got the detail.
Are you saying that we're limited to what we can get? Is that what you're saying?
We're limited on what we can do because we adopted the budget for the year.
Or are you saying that's 10 or 20?
Let me.
If you remember earlier in our session, we approved the motion for, we had open meetings, just so that we can change our budget to accommodate monies.
But you have to have a public hearing. That's what's.
And you can't spend that money for 60 days.
So am I correct in understanding that we're only limited to $10,000 as far as marketing? Is that where we're at?
Well,
We actually budgeted 18,000 for. I'm sorry. We budgeted 18,000 for marketing, and we're expecting to do at least $10,000. That was including the idea that we would actually go ahead and do Allies Day. So we have funds available, and you have at least $8,000 to $10,000.
And there's no way that we can find other means or ways to increase that amount?
As long as it fits into the criteria, and Angela helped me out, when we adopt the budget, there's certain things that we said we would spend the funds for. Like we said we would do improve downtown. And that's why I'm reaching for the marketing money, because that's available, and you have $10,000 that's available for, a education incentives. So if you can tie it to either marketing or education incentives, we have the money that's available. Otherwise, we'd have to go and do a budget amendment and do the 60 days, similar to how we handled the street.
Can you do both marketing and
Yeah.
education?
Well, you can do it, but if you use it all up, you've got to then make a budget change, which means your public hearing. If you want to leave some in marketing, what we're talking about.
We don't want to turn it.
Well, I trended it already. So even with the trend that we're going on, and I even included the thought of spending money, we looked at it this morning, the money to spend for Allies Day, we do have funds available. So you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 in marketing that looked like it was going to be unused for the year. And then you have the $10,000 that's set aside for educational. In the past, we had given CISD money for, I think it was a nursing program.
We've done culinary, we've done nursing,
Yes.
and we've done a welding machine. So 3 years, we've donated 10 to 12,000.
I have a question. What I'm hearing you say is there's $20,000 available. Is that correct?
As long as you can tie it to things,
Okay.
to tie it to those two things.
That being said, if we don't have to stick with you can correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. We don't have to stick with the 25,000, the exact amount. So,
He wants 25,000.
Anything.
anyway, I'm just saying that to make a point, that something to think about. Maybe we can think about 20,000 if it's, I'm hearing that wouldn't be a problem to our budget.
That's not a problem as long as you can tie it to marketing for that 10,
Well,
8
we
to 10.
market in our city. I mean,
Correct.
that's what we do.
So if you have, they were asking for donations for a room or part of the building to be named after. So that is marketing promotions. So that would be something that you could do.
So we could do the 15,000 donation and still get the name for the room, for marketing.
Yeah, but we have about $10,000 for marketing, and then you got another 10,000 would have to be it'd have to be tied to some kind of education.
Well, education is the whole program, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
permission. Yeah, it is. Overall, it's gonna be based off of, we even try to go in and figure out with the STAR testing where the kids are low. And if we could help them with the reading, the math, which is where the ESHA is, she can see some numbers. And we have a few other, Miss Valencia Williams, she comes out and she's a diag over in Duquesne who comes out every year, and we try to focus on the reading. The literacy is y'all, I mean, I'm not gonna speak anything that's not known. We know what that is, and trying to get everybody up to par. So yeah, that's important. Etiquette.
And given a name, there's a possibility there could be a partnership with another business, maybe like, just an example, Sonic, Cleveland EDC Development. I'm just saying, the partnership of two businesses and then getting the name.
Probably got a question for you.
Yes.
Under building signage, do we have anything under signage?
We don't have a category for signage necessarily. We do have marketing, that would fall under marketing, but like you could,
Storefronts?
they're asking for $10,000 for name the audio visual production room. So that would be my recommendation to have EDC audio video production room. And it would be displayed, and that would be your marketing promotion. And then you would spend another, say, $10,000 on not necessarily anything that's listed here, but as long as you could prove that you're spending it on educating the youth, it's there.
name a class, or that's education use, I mean.
Well, I think if you approve any amount of money, we can find a way to break it down and still stay in our, what we were legal to do.
Staff will figure that out if you just dedicate the $10,000 towards education, 10,000 to marketing.
I'll make that motion that we do that.
Second.
Okay, what amount of money are we talking about? Which one?
20,000 total, 10 and 10.
Would you put that in your motion?
I make a motion, we put $10,000 towards the naming of the audio visual production room, and also $10,000 towards the education. That's good enough?
Perfect.
No, second that.
Okay, we have a motion, we got who seconded? Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous.
I didn't cry. I don't even cry. My mom is that good. Provision speak. I really just make up. I lost my mom probably 3 years ago, and I've yet to have that emotional let go. I mean, you have to be strong, you know. You have to be strong, and I'm one of those people in my family that take care of things. But this right here, man, this is awesome. I can't even. From here, born and raised, only left 5 years to go to college, but came back with, you know, with Cleveland on my mind. You know, that, you know, to see other people, you know, succeed, be successful, have a chance. Have a chance. All it takes is somebody, you know, even your haters, even the people that you don't, that you think are against you, help you. They help you. They motivate you, and Miss Clay, Miss Jinkle, I was going to say Miss Jinkle.
That's okay.
Her son is my classmate. I played with her son. I mean, this is awesome. And I knew if he was here daily, I know he would be. I know if JD was here. Those are two people that I really believe that were here and were living here. I could count on.
Yes.
I honestly believe it.
I'm honored to be a part of this, being a decision on this.
So, this is awesome. I promise it won't fail. We already got stuff in our addendum for if me and Isha ever something happens, it'll roll on. It'll roll on. So, very appreciative, very thankful. Like we solely did this off of donations coming out of our pocket to start this thing, averaging about 64 kids a day. At that particular time, I was in Livingston. You know, I was free. Then I had a job change, so we kind of made things different. But now I'm back, and I'm. She knows it. Isha knows it. I'm ready to engulf myself. Just much time as possible. But we're very appreciative, and as soon as I leave out of here, I'm gonna probably text her before I leave out of here. It's amazing. I really do appreciate it. Very thankful.
Heard you got a new home in Grand Oaks.
Not in Grand Oaks. I live
Over at the,
Parkhurst.
Yeah.
Glen, whatever.
Glen Park.
Glen Park.
Yeah, okay. Thank you again. Next item on the list is presentation. Discussion possible action on request for support from Cleveland Chamber of Commerce for the Leadership East Texas program. Open for discussion.
And the discussion here is $1,500, is that correct? Yeah. So looking at that.
Question I have we participated in this before, or
This is a brand
is this the
new
first
program.
time out of so many years they've been in? I don't have a problem with it. I mean, we're giving money away, let's go ahead and give it some more. I'm being sarcastic, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. But it's $1,500, I agree. I think it's a good thing. I'll go with what the rest of the board says.
Is that the form of a motion?
We're still doing discussion. aren't we? Yeah, we're still doing discussion. I'm all for it.
Well, there's a time to discuss.
Anything for the kids.
You get a motion, you don't get a second, it dies anyway.
Are we ready to make a motion?
I entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we give $1,500 to the Leadership East Texas.
Here a second.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Somebody had a discussion.
Let me clarify something, Jim. Did you say it's a 6-month program with just 1 day a month?
Yes, these are for, leaders that are either working a part of the company or a part of, EDC or any other thing. If you want to train leaders, and it's 1 day a month, and each month it's going to be a different thing, different topic. And then it'll be a different place. So, they'll be visiting the judicial systems, they'll be visiting, police stations, schools, industry in the area besides that. So when they get done, they'll have a very good oversight of the entire area, plus the relationships that go. It's 1 day a month, and it'll be like September, October, November. We won't have class in December. In January, February, March, and then April would be graduation.
We have an applicant sign up, do they pay any tuition?
They would pay tuition if they weren't on a scholarship, yes.
So the average person says, okay, I want to attend this leadership training class, how much would it cost?
$600.
$600.
It's
So
$600.
that's $100 a meeting. That's
Yeah,
$100
basically $100
for 1 day, about 6 months.
Yes. And of course, they're going out, it's going to include their lunch and everything.
Like, is it 1 day a month? How many hours is that?
The whole day, they'll start probably be 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 type thing.
And the objective is to, after all this is said and done, and they do this, the objective, they bring back.
Well, they're certified for this, that they've completed this program, and then they've developed leadership skills that should advance them in their company or start their own company, and they become a part of the alumni, and they've built relationships with other executives or other leaders in the area.
Okay, these are only chamber members?
No, this is everyone, yeah. And it's not chamber members, no. That's why I said, it was started by the chamber, but it's not a chamber, equipment, it's not a chamber company.
So what does the $1,500 cover? I guess it's not.
You get, that's to support it, to get it going.
Okay,
And you get also 2 scholarships with that.
okay, so 2 people will not have to pay the $600.
Right. Yes. And then the excess money goes towards any other scholarships we have to give to. It's going to be limited, the class is going to be limited to between 20 and 25 people, the first class.
And it's different people every meeting, one.
No, they'll go for 6.
Oh, okay, the same
Six,
people.
yeah, same people.
Okay.
To get the entire
I see.
leadership training, yes.
So the people who teaches this leadership training, are they reimbursed or they have a fee that they charge?
Yeah, we pay a fee to them. We've got a leadership company that's doing this, that specializes in rural and small town leadership programs for developing the leaders in that. So that we're not bringing people like to Houston, or to give you an example, we looked at one and I think it was like $35,000 is what they're going to charge us for the year to train 20 people. So, this is a local person. These people, matter of fact, the lady that owns the company used to be the city manager in one of the southern cities, Clear Lake or something like that. So, Magnolia, I'm sorry, it's southern, northern, eastern, western. Yeah, she was city manager in Magnolia, and she's retired from several positions in that area, and she started her own company doing management training and leadership training for smaller communities. And she brings in professionals based on if they're learning the visionary or the particular subject that they're teaching. So it's not one instructor the whole period.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Raise them again, hold them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
No further discussion or any questions? I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
Got it? Got a motion, got a second? Thank you, everybody.